Hi Virgo, and welcome to your overview for the year ahead. In this overview, I'm going to be covering a few of the major transits that I think are important. Of course, there are several others, but these are just the ones that I think are really crucial and that can really help you navigate the year ahead. This video is for Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Keep in mind that Virgo Rising will be the strongest indicator, then Virgo Sun, and then some people do resonate with their moon signs. I also recommend, if you have a lot of planets in Virgo, like a stellium, or if you have a stellium in the 6th house, to listen to this as well. You may benefit from some of the themes I'm going to be talking about. So the first thing I want to discuss is Venus retrograde. Venus has been retrograde for some time now. She went retrograde December 19th, and that was in your 5th house of, fun, love, and romance. She is still retrograde and will remain retrograde until she goes direct January 29th, and then she'll just stay in your 5th house until March 6th. So when we think about Venus, we want to get these themes. What are these themes that are coming up? So we want to look at what the planet Venus represents, and then what does the house represent? So Venus is love, beauty, self-esteem, self-worth, money, finance, aesthetics, our values. And then the 5th house is the house of fun, romance, love affairs, play, children, fertility, creativity, drama, speculation is in this house too. It's a pretty fun house. So there's a number of ways that this could be coming up for you. Venus retrograde is going to be asking you to reevaluate your value in terms of one or several of these areas that I just mentioned. There might also be financial implications that you need to reevaluate in terms of any of these topics that I covered. So I'll give you a few examples, but of course I cannot cover everything. So for those who are dating, you might be realizing that this person might not be the right fit for a long-term partner, or you might be realizing there's some things that you didn't realize you needed in a long-term partnership, and you don't know if this person has that. I wouldn't recommend ending a relationship on Venus retrograde. It typically won't last. But for singles, an old love could come back, and it is a good time to kind of check out the relationship and see. Again, don't make any solid decisions if this person is going to last or be the one. It could just be that you need some closure. Also, if you are dating, old issues may resurface, and it doesn't have to be bad. Some Virgos might be revisiting an old creative hobby or a project. For others, there might be some fertility issues or issues surrounding children, whether you want them or you don't, or you're raising them. For those who don't want kids or have kids, I often see the 5th house transits relating to either love and romance. But again, if you're married, I often see this more about fun and creative hobbies. So if you make money off a hobby or want to, this is a really good time to rethink your plan. For some of you, you might actually be revisiting something that you used to get a lot of joy out of, that maybe you lost it for, or you didn't have the time for. For others, this transit will be about revisiting just themes of fun. How do I honor fun? Do I give myself enough time for having fun and joy in my life? Do I express my childlike behavior? If you have children, do I spend enough time with my children? For some, you could change your mind and, decide you want children. The only thing I'd kind of guard against is gambling, just because Venus rules money and is retrograde. I would not gamble during this transit unless you can afford to lose it. If you're going to throw $5 on a lottery ticket, that's fine. But I wouldn't gamble on any high stakes financial investments or risky speculative ventures. Now, a way this could turn out that could be positive is if you are waiting for money from a sweepstakes, or you won money on something and haven't received it, you could receive it now. Overall, you could just be re-inspired at this time. Again, finding more time for joy and really nurturing your creative hobbies at this time. The next transit I want to talk about is Jupiter in Pisces. So Jupiter is in Pisces now and will remain in Pisces until May 10th. Then he'll dip out and he'll go hang out in Aries from May 10th to October 28th. And then he's going to come back and hang out in Pisces again from the October 28th to the end of the year, December 20th. So let's talk about where he is now and what that means for you. So right now, Jupiter is in your 7th house of committed partnerships. So this is a wonderful year for Virgos to get married. Of course, keep in mind the retrogrades, like the Mercury and the Venus, but overall, it's a really good year for if you're single and you would like to be committed, meeting that person. It's a really good time if you are already married for your partnership. You and your partner may just experience more bliss, or something really positive may happen to your partner, and that kind of ricochets onto you. I will say, I mean, Jupiter transits are always wonderful, but again, depending on how it is in the chart and what's going on in that house area, it can vary. So if you are in a partnership that's toxic or there's issues, Jupiter can expand those issues, either so that you deal with them, because Jupiter is all about solutions, or so that you realize, it's time to go. And if you were to end a relationship, it would bring in, Jupiter would bring in someone much more positive. Much more aligned, I should say. Because Jupiter is, a Sagittarian energy, 9th house energy, you could meet someone, like this person could be from a foreign land. This person could be very different from the type you date. Maybe whether they're foreign or whether they travel a lot, or whether they are just well-traveled or very Jupiterian or Sagittarian in some way. So maybe they're a teacher, or I said a traveler, or just very Sagittarius-like, maybe very adventurous. It doesn't have to be. And this goes for any one-to-one consciously chosen relationship. Typically with the 7th house, we think of like a marriage partner, romantic partner, but it can also be, a business relationship if you're looking for one. It can be if you're looking for the right practitioner, the right massage therapist, the right, any of that, you could find that person. If you're planning to get married to your partner this year, it's a wonderful, wonderful energy for that. I do predict that a lot of Virgos will be meeting the right person this year, marrying, or furthering their commitment. So if you're married, you might buy a house or move in together, or have a child, or, buy a dog, something like that. So that's kind of an overview of just what it's like in the 7th house. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I can't think of anything else on the top of my head. So when Jupiter dips out of Pisces and hangs out into Aries, this will be May 10th to October 28th, and this is in your 8th house. So May 10th through October 28th is going to give you a snippet of what the year 2023 will be like. And Jupiter in the 8th house is also, I think Jupiter, no matter where Jupiter goes, is good. Again, we have to consider the aspects it's making in your own personal chart, but just generally speaking, this is a wonderful energy for expanding other people's resources. So if you get passive income, if you have investments, those things can grow. Any money that you don't earn from a paycheck can be expanded. So your partner's income could increase, you could receive an inheritance, and it doesn't always have to be because someone died. It could just be like, someone decides to, give you some money because they made some or something like that. Sweepstakes, investments, passive income, royalties, all these things you can benefit from, like alimony, if that's something that you're trying to get. Again, Jupiter will expand issues if we need to. So if you're really in debt, Jupiter might put some pressure on you to pay that debt off. And I would say with Jupiter in the 8th house, you would have more solutions to do that. If you need a loan, you would be more likely to get one, like a mortgage or something like that. But the 8th house is not just about money. It's also about sex, intimacy, psychology, the occult, so tarot, astrology. So these things could expand for you. So maybe you and your partner deepen your intimacy with each other, or, you sexually experiment, or if you're single, you're going to have more sexual, opportunities. Now, if there's issues in this area, Jupiter is going to help magnify them again so that you deal with them. So maybe you go to see a therapist with your partner if there are sexual issues or intimacy issues. For the tarot and occult thing, you could just delve into this. Like maybe you're not really into this, and then all of a sudden you just, because Jupiter is all about learning, right? So you might just have this obsession to like learn all you can about astrology and tarot or anything hidden, right? Like psychology. If you work in a field of psychology or research, like you're a detective, a psychologist, a therapist, you could do really well around this time. Maybe your clientele gets bigger, or you just are performing really well in those jobs. If you have traumas that need to be healed, this is a wonderful time to make beautiful breakthroughs and transform them. So pretty exciting. And then, like I said, Jupiter is going to go back into the 7th house, and you'll get more of that, partnership energy. So I think that's all I have to say about Jupiter. The next transit I want to talk about is Saturn. So Saturn is the opposite of Jupiter. So where Jupiter expands and blesses and gives some luck, Saturn makes us work hard, restricts and, makes us have to be very disciplined. So you have Saturn in Aquarius in your 6th house of health and well-being. And he has been here for a while, so this is a long-term transit. And he will stay in your 6th house until March of 2023. So the 6th house is health, fitness, any system you use on a day-to-day basis to function, like organizing. It rules pets, our daily work routine and habits, the service we do on a daily basis. It's literally anything we do on a day-to-day basis to function, from getting up to brushing our teeth to paying our bills. But I would say overall health and fitness and work are kind of the big ones here. So Saturn is putting pressure here. So for Virgos, if you have a health issue that has come up, I know several who have, know that this is typically something that you can resolve. And what I mean by that is that it's manageable. Like, changing your diet, your routine, and your lifestyle habits can resolve this, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. You might be being asked to be more disciplined when it comes to your work routine. You might be being asked to be more diligent with your daily habits, right? Like, what are you doing? Are you sitting all day? Like, maybe you need to get up and walk in between. Are you doing the right exercise program for you? Diet is huge here. So if you've been kind of not looking after your health, this transit will be a bit harder because you're going to be forced to. You're not going to have a choice because health issues will come up. By the end of this transit, you will definitely be more productive. You're going to be healthier. You're just going to have overall better work routine habits in general. So, it's good in the end, but there might be you might feel restricted, and Saturn's depression. So even some depression when it comes to finding a routine that worked for your work life and your health and well-being. If you feel pressure in any of these areas, just know that your Saturn's pressuring you because he wants you to make sure that this is solid. So, for example, health. If a health issue comes up, it's because the way you were living your life wasn't solid. It wasn't working for you. If work pressures come up, it's because you need to, restructure that. Sometimes your pets might be featured here, and there might be some issues with the pet. I haven't seen a lot of that, but it is definitely possible. But know that if you listen to Saturn and you do the work and you make the changes, you're going to make lifestyle changes that are everlasting. You'll never have to learn this again. So that is the beauty of Saturn. The other transit I want to talk about is Mars in Aquarius. And Mars is in Aquarius only from March 7th till April 14th. So a very short transit, but I wanted to bring it up because that means it's going to be at some point probably conjunct with Saturn. And Saturn's a malefic planet, and so is Mars. So we have two planets that maybe aren't the friendliest. And I think that's notable. So I'm telling everyone to keep, mark it on your calendar, March 7th to April 14th. just so you know how to utilize this energy. And it doesn't mean it's going to be bad. It can be very positive, and I'm going to talk about both. But that means there's a concentrated energy in your sixth house around this time. So Mars is ambition, drive, energy, but Mars is also war, conflict. Mars is very inflammatory, so it depends. So on the positive, you could just feel really driven when it comes to your work routine, your health habits, all those things I just talked about in the sixth house. Like you might just be like, I am on a mission. Like you might have more energy for your workouts. You might have more energy to manage your day-to-day routine. You might actually be managing a lot. Like you might be really busy, but you're able to handle it. You might just feel more energy, like where you were feeling more bogged down. You might just feel just more ambition, really, when it comes to overcoming any health issues or exercise goals or just in your day-to-day work routine. At this time, you might actually start doing something very different or new. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be new, but just something to improve your diet and your health. But if Mars is making any difficult aspects, it can actually bring back a health problem, right? Like that inflammation I was talking about. So just keep in mind, like poor eating habits and just not looking after your mental well-being, like in terms of your work routine, right? Like, are you taking time for self-care? These are going to be really important leading up into this period, because if you're eating, unhealthy foods, if you're working, 70 hours a week, like you're more likely to experience this in a less positive way. So that's why I'm telling you this now, to just really I would start now, just really get these things and your ducks in a row. Another thing that could happen if it's negatively aspected is more conflict with your work. Maybe your employees, if you hire them, or just people you work with. So I always encourage people to utilize Mars energy and get it out with physical activities. So that is, working out, running, getting outdoors to walk. Mars can be very, sexual. So maybe doing that, anything to use the energy so that you're not channeling it into other things can be really helpful. I'm manifesting for Virgo so that this is going to be positive, just with after the Mercury retrograde that we had in the middle at the beginning of the year, that we're actually in right now as I'm recording, and the Venus retrograde. I feel like this Mars energy will feel like a new zest for life. So that's what I'm manifesting for you guys. The other transit I want to talk about is Uranus going direct in Taurus on January 18th in your 9th house. So Uranus is all about liberation, innovation, breaking free. He's very unpredictable and can be a bit impulsive, but also very, I guess liberating is the best way to say it. The 9th house is all about foreign anything, right? So foreign travel, foreign business, foreign relation, philosophy, higher education. So think of like your master's or your PhD, teaching, learning, law, religion, ethics, spirituality are in this house too. Law, did I mention law? Yeah, I did. So if you work in any of those areas, you might see some sudden changes or breakthroughs or something like that. But the 9th house is also our beliefs and the way, like our perspective, our outward perspective on the world. So this might be drastically changing. And I mean, Uranus has been here since I think May of 2018, somewhere around there, and has been going retrograde and direct back and forth since then, and is going to continue to stay here until I think 2025 or something like that. So this is a long-term transit as well. And so there might be a way that you're thinking, Virgo, that no longer serves you and needs to be changed. And you might come in contact with people, or things might happen that change your belief systems, ultimately for the better. So you might be more mentally flexible. You might be more into new ways of thinking. You might shock people with your new beliefs, right? So for someone who used to be religious, maybe you become spiritual, or vice versa, or maybe you become an atheist, or Maybe you totally change your major in your, PhD program or master's program or something like that. Maybe you suddenly decide to go on a foreign expedition. It could be a lot of different things. Overall, I think this is really good just for removing self-limiting beliefs. I mean, if it's a difficult transit, there might be some shocks when it comes to long distance travel. There might be shocks when it comes to law. So if you work in law or you're a lawyer, there just might be some complications in those areas I mentioned in the ninth house if it's negatively aspected. But, you could just become very eccentric and that might shock people. But overall, I think I think the biggest thing is here is belief systems, and overall that's changing. If you are traveling somewhere foreign, and foreign, I mean, when we typically think of foreign, we think of like a far away land. But foreign is anywhere that like you've never been, right? I mean, it is long distance travel, but it could also just be somewhere that is very foreign to you. Like if you're from like the country and now you're in a city, right? So keep that in mind. If you are planning to relocate or travel, it's going to be very life changing for you. The last part of this overview is the eclipses. I want to talk about the eclipses because that's huge. This year, the eclipses are in Taurus and Scorpio. So the transiting north node is in Taurus in your ninth house, and the transiting south node is in Scorpio in your third house. So, like I said earlier, there's a lot of concentrated energy in the sixth house because of Saturn and Mars, but we have a lot of concentrated area in the ninth house here too with Uranus and then the eclipses. So, like, big energy here. So, for many Virgos, you might decide to pursue higher education. The North Node is our destiny, right? So if we are not aligned, the North Node can put us on there, and quite shockingly, especially with Uranus there, right? Like just out of the blue. You're going to just be moving towards these ninth house matters. So you might be drawn to expand your mind, and that could be through typical school, that could be through religion or spirituality, that could be through traveling. There's lots of ways we can expand our minds, and through this journey you're going to develop a new sense of yourself and new beliefs. Maybe you'll even recreate your vision for your future and have a new sense of, why am I here? I think a lot of Virgos, religion and spirituality, whatever you associate with, are going to become much more important to you. You could meet a guru, or you could become a guru or a mentor or a teacher to someone else. You also may suddenly get the chance to travel to distant places, places that maybe you never thought you'd go to, and meet a variety of new people who will become influential in your life. And if you do meet a new mentor or a guru, they are going to have a life-changing effect on you. I will say, full disclosure, I have a lot of Virgo in my chart, and I have the opportunity to suddenly move somewhere that I consider abroad, and it came up very unexpectedly and very out of the blue. So that's just one way that it can happen. The South Node is also in the third house. So again, like the third house is all about the community, local, the details. And so, yeah, you could be moving away from your community, but also in terms of your thinking. The third house is kind of like the lower mind, and the ninth house is the higher mind. So your thinking might become more abstract, and you're being asked to actually look at life from like a bigger perspective than the details. And through education or travel, you will do that. So that's just kind of a brief overview. Of course, we could talk about each of these transits forever. So I tried to kind of put in as much as I thought. If you have experienced anything or resonate with anything, or there's something I didn't mention that pertains to one of these, please feel free to like comment. I love learning from other people. I've also put the eclipse dates on the screen. So the energy I just talked about with the eclipses is going to be more maybe apparent around these dates, but it is an ongoing thing for for the remainder of the year. So I hope that this was helpful. Please like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for some more videos.